Chapter 4. The Leibladelac Journeyers. They had plenty of propellant left, so once they'd resupplied their antimatter fuel at the factory, they turned back to the barony at full acceleration. The ship decelerated as it approached the spaceport. They touched down on the pier designated for a connecting vessel. Unlike most landing procedures, the landing gear wasn't attached to the vessel, but rather located on the pier itself. That made it a mite harder to pull off, but thanks to the help of her computing crystals and her frocras, she managed it without putting a scratch on its hull. "I'm afraid entering from this pier isn't advisable," Fee reported Sruff. "Why?" "The servants who are working in concert with my son are there. They're likely still loyal to him. They've gathered below us for some end. As such, I've taken the liberty of trapping them there." "How many are there?" "Let's see, 11 it seems," he said, glowering at the screen. "That's a fifth of the entire staff here. And they're most likely armed, which would make them the greatest military force in the history of my barony." "Don't tell me you're raring for a fight," said Jinto, worried. "Is that how you think of me?" replied Leifier, less than pleased. "I don't enjoy battle. I only fight when I must." But from the look in Jinto's eyes, he wasn't so sure. "Don't worry, boy. I can assure you that when the Ov commit to a fight, they go all out. Once a proper battle begins, negotiation and compromise ain't on the table. They take the fight to a fiery end either way. And that's why they know what a frightful thing war is, and why they avoid it if possible." "I don't know about that. Take a look at history, boy. The empires never once sprung a war on anybody else." "That's not true, though. The system I'm from didn't even know the empire existed before their warships came pointing weapons at us." "Your system?" "The Countdom of Hyde." "Oh, so you hadn't heard, Lonuli Africa. Hyde was a system isolated from the rest of human society. Until 7 years ago, that is." "I see," the old man nodded. "I think I've got a better idea of your family history now. I mean, setting that aside. Don't take this the wrong way, boy, but the Empire only battles other interstellar nations. If it's a fight with another interstellar power, then they're ruthless. But when it comes to terrestrial worlds, they're practically charitable. It ain't like they do ground wars, after all. Well, to be honest, they look down on surface worlds. Literally. From space. They don't consider them rival powers." "Kinda don't know how to feel about that," he said, but that did bring him some reassurance. Meanwhile, that exchange left Leifier feeling alienated. "You're Ov, too. Why are you speaking as if it has nothing to do with you?" "Fee," said Sruff with all due reverence, "I only truly became Ov after learning what the Ov learn. This boy, this young man, noble prince of the Countdom of Hyde, is still learning how to become Ov." "I've still got a lot to get used to," Jinto added. "But must you act so rude? Don't analyze me like I'm some kind of zoo animal." "My apologies." "Sorry." But she didn't feel they were quite sincere. "It's irritating," she insisted. "I get it, I'm sorry." "In any case, Your Highness," Sruff interrupted, "could I ask you to take the ship to the pier reserved for the Lord? There's nobody over there." "Yes, understood." "Do you have access to Blycerag flight control functionality?" "Yes, total access." "Then disengage the landing gear for me." "I would love to, but we can't afford to take too much time using this terminal. Let's give the functionality back to the flight control room." "But..." "I say this with the understanding that they follow my orders, of course." The former Baron picked up the phone and connected a call to the flight control room. After a brief back and forth with Moinish, the senior flight control officer, he secured her loyalty and then carried out a series of operations on his end. "Can we trust her? If she goes back on her word, then I can always take back functionality anyway." Leifier shrugged. "Feb-Barony Flight Control, come in." "Yes, this is Flight Control speaking. Requesting permission for takeoff." "Permission granted. When will you take off?" "Now." "Roger." Disengaging landing gear. The coupling mechanism released. Using her frocras, which included the map of the estate, she ascertained the location of the Lord's pier and crawled along the ceiling at low propulsion. "Come in, Feb-Barony Flight Control." "Yes." Requesting touchdown at the Lord's pier and propellant resupply at said pier. A pause. The face on screen was visibly cross. "Permission granted," Moinish said at last. "Do you need guidance?" No, said Leifir. She still didn't trust her completely. Moreover, for a steerer who possessed Frocross like her, she didn't even need help navigating at such short distances. It took less than a minute for Leifir to touch down on the pier that the Baron typically used. The propellant had been automatically resupplied. Now to take my leave, Your Highness. Sruff stood up and saluted her. I will look to clearing up the confusion that's taken hold of the orbital estate. I hope you fare well in your travels, and you can expect a visit from me someday. Okay, she nodded. There are some in the estate who aided us. The servant staff by the names of Selnai and Arsa. Others may have helped as well. I have a message for them, if you would care to relay it for me. I wouldn't mind at all, said the former Baron, but if I might make a suggestion, would it not be a better idea for you to tell them yourself? Yes, of course, she said, inserting a memory crystal into her CompuWatch. Meanwhile, Sruff extended a hand toward Jinto. As Leifir watched, wondering what he was up to, the noble Prince of Hyde himself looked at his hand, surprised, before taking it. See you sometime, boy. Come see me one of these days when you're free. Regale me with the chronicles of the founding of the Count Dom of Hyde. If you do, I'll teach you all about the intricacies of the off-frame of mind. By all means. I'd love that. And be sure to make it back around before you have kids, would ya? He winked. Sure will, said Jinto, matching the old man's smile with his own. Then Sruff glanced in her direction. Thus reminded that she had an errand, she held her CompuWatch to her lips. Attention, servants Selnai and Arsa, and all the other Imperial citizens that helped whose names I don't know. I, trainee star pilot Avrielsek ne Dubrisker Bear Perian Lam here thank you not only on my behalf, but on behalf of the Empire. As of this moment, I cannot take you with me. However, do not mistake that as my reneging on my vow. I shall be returning to fulfill your wish as soon as the circumstances allow it, and your goodwill shall be rewarded. It is with deep respect that I must ask you wait for me in the meantime. Her recording complete, she popped the memory crystal out of the CompuWatch and handed it to the former Baron. Thank you. Recording received, he said, conscientiously placing it in his long robe's mosk pocket for her to see. Well, Baron Emeritus, I suppose this is it. May your good health last until we meet again, she saluted. I wish you the same, Your Highness, he said, not dwelling on his adieu. He strode through the airlock room's door and promptly disappeared. The room's opposite door, leading into the pier, opened and closed in its turn. The former Baron had left the vessel. After double-checking he disembarked safely, Leifir called the flight control room once again. Touchdown objectives completed. Requesting permission to leave domain. Over. Permission granted came in a morose niche. Your Highness, we're still processing what happened, so I implore you to consider our extenuating circum. Sure, said Leifir, before dropping the call unceremoniously. She didn't mean to come off cold, but the flight controller's tone of voice was too tragic, too pathetic to stand. So Leifir re-equipped her control glove and commenced liftoff procedures. Well, that took a bit longer than anticipated, said Jinto, taking the seat next to her. Yes, it did, she replied. Liftoff. They accelerated in the direction the ship's bow would intercept the Feb gate in its orbit. Said Leifir, startled. What? What is it? The brilliant red silk draping her lap caught her eye. She'd been wearing a dressy long robe the whole time. This douche, I forgot to give it back. Then are we heading back? Leifir shuddered at the thought. I could never do something so undignified. Not after that weighty farewell. I see, Jinto nodded sternly. By the way, Jinto. What? What was that you were doing with the Baron Emeritus before? Where you were gripping his hand? Was that some kind of sexual deviance? Sexual what? No, of course not. That's just how we greet each other on my home world. Though I didn't think Lonulai Afrika would know about it. Actually, I heard somewhere that that custom derives from the Age of Earth. It must have survived across a bunch of different terrestrial worlds, crazily enough. That's so. But something was tugging at her. After a moment's thought, it came to her. Don't people on your home world greet each other by leaping back a step, though? Leaping back. The hell would do that? Isn't that what you told me? Huh. You told me when we first met. I don't recall that. Oh, he blurted. Right, I remember now. So you were lying. I wouldn't go so far as to call it a lie. Just to warn you, I don't enjoy being lied to. What a coincidence. Me neither, he offered meekly. Tell me the truth. What was that little leap? Well, Jinto cast his eyes down. Jinto was sweating a cold sweat as Lafier stared at him balefully from the side. Looks as though we've found something to talk about on our way to Svagov. I'll give you time to think of a sensible excuse. Thanks, I'll try, he said, voice tinier than a mouse's. But no such bolt of inspiration ever came.